Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Farid Fahadi, and today I want to present about the 7 habits of highly effective people. There are 7 habits of highly effective people. First is be proactive. Second, begin with the end in mind. Third, put first things first. Fourth, think win-win. Fifth, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Sixth, synergize. Seventh, sharpen the saw. Be proactive. We're in charge. We choose the script by which to live our lives. Use this self-awareness to be proactive and take responsibility for your choice. The first habit that Covey discusses is being proactive. What distinguishes us as humans from all other animals is our inherent ability to examine our own character, to decide how to view ourselves and our situations, and to control our own effectiveness. Put simply, in order to be effective, one must be proactive. Reactive people take a passive stance. They believe the world is happening to them. They say things like, there's nothing I can do, that's just the way I am. They think the problem is out there, but that thought is the problem. Reactive becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and reactive people feel increasingly victimized and out of control. Proactive people, however, recognize they have responsibility or responsibility, which Covey defines as the ability to choose how you will respond to a given stimulus or situation. In order to be proactive, we must focus on the circle of influence that lies within our circle of concern. In other words, we must work on the things we can do something about. Like Henry David Thoreau said, I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor. While the word proactivity is now fairly common in the management literature, it is a word you won't find in most dictionaries. It means more than merely taking initiative. It means that as human beings, we are responsible of our own lives. Our behavior is a function of our decisions, not our conditions. We can subordinate feelings to values. We have the initiative and the responsibility to make things happen. Look at the word responsibility. Responsibility. The ability to choose your response. Highly proactive people recognize that responsibility. They do not blame circumstances, conditions, or conditioning for their behavior. Their behavior is a product of their own conscious choice, based on values rather than the product of their conditions, based on feelings. Because we are by nature proactive. If our lives are a function of condition and conditions, it is because we have by conscious decision or by default chosen to empower those things to control us in making such a choice. We become reactive. The second habit is begin with the end in mind. Start with a clear destination in mind. Covey says we can use our imagination to develop a vision of what we want to become and use our conscious to decide what values will guide us. Most of us find it rather easy to busy ourselves. We work hard to achieve victories, promotion, higher income, more recognition, but we don't often stop to evaluate the meaning behind the busyness, behind the victories. We don't ask ourselves if these things that we focus on so intently are what really matters to us. Habit 2 suggests that in everything we do, we should begin with the end in mind. Start with a clear destination. That way, we can make sure the steps we're taking are in the right direction. Covey emphasized that our self-awareness empowers us to shape our own lives, instead of living our lives by default or based on the standards or preference of others. Beginning with the end in mind is also extremely important for businesses. Being a manager is about optimizing for efficiency, but being a leader is about setting the right strategic vision for your organization in the first place and asking, what are we trying to accomplish? Before we as individuals organization can start setting unachievable goals, we must be able to evaluate our values. This process may involve some rescripting to be able to set our own personal values. Scripting. Covey explained is a recognition in effective scripts that have been written for you, and those scripts by proactively writing new ones that are built of your own values. It is also important to identify our center. Whatever whatever is at the center of our life will be the source of our security, guidance, wisdom, and power. Our center affects us fundamentally. They determine our daily decisions, actions, and motivations, as well as our interpretation of events. However, Covey notes that none of these centers are optimal and that instead we should strive to be principle-centered. We should identify the timeless, unchanging principles by which we must live our lives. This will give us the guidance that we need to align our behaviors with our beliefs and values. The key lessons of this habit is first, visualize in rich detail your own funeral. Who is there? What are they saying about you? About how you live your life? About the relationship you had? What do you want them to say? Think about how your priorities would change if you only had 30 more days to live. Start living by these priorities. Second key lesson is break down different roles in your life, whether professional, personal, or community, and list 3 to 5 goals you want to achieve for each. The third key lesson is define what scares you. Public speaking, critical feedback, after writing a book, write down the worst case scenario for your own biggest fear, then visualize how you handle it, down exactly how to do it. The third habit is put first things first. In order to manage ourselves effectively, we must put first things first. We must we must have the discipline to prioritize our day-to-day actions based on what is important, not what is most urgent. In Habit 2, we discuss the importance of determining our values and understanding what is we are setting out to achieve. Habit 3 is about actually going after these goals and executing on our priorities on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. In order to maintain the discipline and the focus to stay on track toward our goals, we need to have the willpower to do something when we don't want to do it. We need to act accordingly to our values rather than our desires or impulses at any given moment. All activities can be categorized based on two factors, urgent and important. The first quadrant is urgent and important. The example of activities such as crisis, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects. Next is quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is not urgent but important. The activities such as relationship building, recognizing new opportunities, and planning. Third is third quadrant. Third quadrant is urgent and not important. The example of activities such as interruptions, some calls or meetings, popular activities. The last quadrant is quadrant 4. Quadrant 4 is not urgent and not important. These activities such as trivial busy work, time wasters, pleasant activities. The key lessons of this habit is first, identify a quadrant 2 activities you've been neglecting. Identify a quadrant 2 activity you've been neglecting, write it down, and commit to implementing it. Second, estimate how much time you spend in each quadrant. Estimate how much time you spend in each quadrant, then log your time over 3 days. How accurate was your estimate? How much time did you spend in quadrant 2, the most important quadrant? Third, create your own time management metrics to start prioritizing. Next habit is think win-win. In order to establish effective interdependent relationship, we must commit to creating win-win situations that are mutually beneficial and satisfying to each party. Covey explains that there are 6 paradigms of human interaction. First is win-lose. If I win, you lose. Win-lose people are prone to use position, power, credentials, and personality to get their way. Second is lose-win. I lose, you win. Lose-win people are quick to please and appease and seek strength from popularity or acceptance. The third interaction is lose-lose. Both people lose. When two win-lose people get together, that is when two determined, stubborn, ego-invested individuals interact, the result will be lose-lose. The fourth interaction is win. People with the win mentality don't necessarily want someone else to lose. That's irrelevant. What matters is that they get what they want. The fifth interaction is win-win or no deal. If you cannot reach an agreement that is mutually beneficial, there is no deal. The last interaction is win-win. Both people in the agreement are mutually beneficial and satisfying their priorities. The best option is to create win-win situations. With win-lose or lose-win, one person appears to get what he wants for the moment, but the result will negatively impact the relationship between those two people going forward. The win-win or no deal option is important to use as a backup. When we have no deal as an option in our mind, it liberates us from needing to manipulate people and push our own agenda. We can be open and really try to understand the underlying issues. In solving for win-win, we must consider two factors: consideration and courage. Take a look at the following chart. Win-win is high courage and high consideration. Lose-win is low courage and high consideration. Win-lose is high courage, low consideration, and low courage. And lose-lose is low courage and low consideration. Another important factor in solving for win-win situation is maintaining an abundance mentality, or the belief that there's plenty out there for everyone. Most people operate with the scarcity mentality, meaning they act as though everything is zero-sum. In other words, if you get it, I don't. People with scarcity mentally have a very hard time sharing recognition or credit and find it difficult to be genuinely happy about the other people's success. When it comes to interpersonal leadership, the more genuine our character is, the higher our level of proactivity. The more committed we are to win-win, the more powerful our influence will be. To achieve win-win, keep the focus on the result, not methods, on problems, not people. Lastly, the spirit of win-win cannot survive in an environment of competition. As an organization, we need to align our reward system with our goals and values and have the system in place to support win-win. The key lessons of this habit is: first, think about an upcoming interaction. Think about an upcoming interaction where you'll be attempting to reach an agreement or solution. Write down a list of what the other person is looking for. Next, write a list next to that of how you can make an offer to meet those needs. Second, second lesson is identify three important relationships in your life. Think about what you feel the best in each of those relationships. You give more than you take more than you give. Write down 10 ways to always give more than you take with each one. The third lesson is deeply consider your own interaction tendencies. Are they win-lose? How does that affect our interaction with others? Can you identify other source of that appliance, whether or serve relationship? The next habit is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Before we can offer advice, suggest solutions, or effectively interact with another person in any way, we must seek to deeply understand them and their perspective. Though emphatic listening, let's say you go to an optometrist and tell him that you've been having trouble seeing clearly, and he takes off his glasses, hands them to you and says, "Here, try this. They've been working for me for years." You put them on, but they only make the problem worse. What are the chances you'd go back to that optometrist? Unfortunately, we do the same thing in our everyday interaction with other people. We prescribe a solution before we diagnose the problem. We don't seek to deeply understand the problem first. Habit 5 says that we must seek first to understand, then to be understood. In order to seek understand, we must learn to listen. Covey points out communication experts estimate that 10% of communication is represented by our words, 30% is represented by our sound, 60% is represented by our body language. We tend to respond in one of four ways. First, evaluate, agree or disagree with what is said. Second, probe, ask questions from our own frame of the reference. Advise, give counsel based on our own experience. The fourth, try to figure out the person's motives and behavior based on our motivational behavior. Seek, if we replace these types of response with empathic listening, we see dramatic result in improved communication. It takes time to make this shift, but it doesn't take nearly as long to proactive empathic listening as it does to back up and correct misunderstandings, or to live with unexpressed and unresolved problems only to have them surface later on. The key lessons of this habit is next time you're watching two people communicating, cover your ears and watch. Second, next time you give a presentation, rooted in empathy. The sixth habit is synergize. By understanding and valuing the difference in other person's perspective, we have the opportunity to create synergy, which allows us to uncover new possibilities through openness and creativity. The combination of all the other habits prepare us for habit 6, which is the habit of synergy, or when 1 plus 1 equals 3 or more, and the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. For example, if you plant two plants close together, their roots will commingle and improve the quality of the soil, so that both plants will grow better than they would on their own. Synergy allows you to value the difference in other people as a way to expand your perspective, sidesteps negative energy and look for the good in others, exercise courage in interdependent situations to be open and encourage others to be open, catalyze creativity and find a solution that will be better for everyone by looking for a third alternative. The key lessons of this habit is make a list of people who irritates you and make a list of people with whom you get along. The last habit is sharpen the saw. To be effective, we must devote the time to renewing ourselves physically, spiritually, mentally, and socially. The goal of continuous physical improvement is to exercise our body in a way that will enhance our capacity to work, adapt, and enjoy. To renew ourselves physically, we must eat well, get sufficient rest and relaxation, exercise on a regular basis to build endurance, flexibility, and strength. The key lesson of this habit is make a list of activities that would help you renew yourself along each of the four dimensions. Second, commit to writing down specific sharpen. That's all for me. Thank you for your kind attention.